Hello there, it's Full Sized here with another video on space engineers. Today I'm going to be covering the Asteroids Start. So when you go in to do a single player survival mode, you've got all the easy start modes. I did one before where I used a planetary lander to land on a planet and then get back off into space, and this one is going to be the Asteroids Start. This is probably one of the more difficult ones, especially when you're kind of newer, because you start out with this ship that it's a little beat up, it's not even completely finished, there's not a lot of stuff on it. You've got an assembler, a reactor, a small cargo hold, a gyroscope, a few engines, a gravity generator, a pilot seat. That's about it. There's not a lot going on here. And as you can see, there's an asteroid field right ahead of us, and it looks like off in the distance there's a few other asteroids around too. So what can we do with this? Well, we could just drive over to one of these asteroids and start chiseling away on it with our hand drill, and that would be fine. That's one way to do it. There's even on the top of this ship, if you see it right here, if I can get the camera angle good, there's a collector right there. And if you don't know what a collector is, you can drop ore into it or anything else, and it will go ahead and suck it up and shove it into your conveyor system. Okay? So, considering they started us out with a gravity generator, one thing you could do is you could drive the ship over to an asteroid, kind of try to angle that over towards where you're going to be mining at, and then drill right over top of it. And all the ore that you were drilling off, you wouldn't even have to collect it. It would just drop, the gravity generator would pull it down into that collector, and it'd be in your conveyor system. And that's okay-ish. I tried it back when I was a noob, and I broke the ship in half. It's really hard to start out not really being that good at flying and trying to maneuver right up against an asteroid like that. And even if you do, any rock that you cut off that isn't directly over top of that collector is just going to hit somewhere else on the ship. Okay? So not very effective. Now you could make it more effective if you were to, say, grind off a few of these extra armor blocks so that you could get some steel plates, and then you could make sort of a funnel around it and kind of fan it out a little bit, and then you'd have a bigger area that you could drop your ore over top of, and it would get funneled down in there with just nothing more than some light armor blocks. You wouldn't even have to weld them up. All you'd have to do is lay down the framework. But the problem you have then is there's these two engines on either side of it, and if you get any blocks within 2 blocks of where those engines are expelling their ions or whatever it is, then you're going to damage those blocks, you're going to destroy them. It's just a real pain. So I kind of wanted to show you maybe a little better way to start this out. So again, first objective, we're going to have some ore. We really need some uranium too, because we don't have a lot of uranium. So we need an effective way to get some ore. And we could just take our little hand drill, which they start us with a little hand drill, see? And that's fine. Oh, we have a med bay in here too. And the hand drill's fine, but there's a better way to do it. We also have an oxygen generator. Gonna run over here to the refinery, and we can access, and our small cargo hold has a little bit of ammunition in it and a few tools. And we don't really need any ammunition. There's nothing here to shoot at us. And if there was anything here to shoot at us, chances are that little bit of ammunition, we're gonna die anyway. Because if anybody comes after us at this point, we're in trouble. But there's nobody in this world to come after us, so it doesn't really matter. I'm going to load up all that stuff. Go to the oxygen generator, and there's 3 oxygen bottles, and there's an extra hydrogen bottle. Now, I want to keep one of the oxygen bottles and one of the hydrogen bottles, but that means I can recycle the other 2. Let's go over to our assembler, and we'll dump all of this stuff in there, except for 1 oxygen bottle and 1 hydrogen bottle. And then we can go over to our production tab, hit disassemble, and disassemble all. Now, we started out without any ore at all. We didn't have any ingots, nothing to try and build with. So all of the ingots that we're getting right now is from recycling these items. We don't have to recycle all these clips to do what I'm trying to do here. So now if we go over to tools, see, from recycling those few items, instead of starting with the tier 1 tools, we can now go ahead and build the tier 3 tools. So we can build the grinder, we can build the welder, we could even build a tier 3 hand drill, and we might need that hand drill actually. So I don't want to do any mining at all with the hand drill, but your ship does not have an ore detector on it. At least I don't think it has an ore detector. Let me check real quick. Yeah, so the ship does not have an ore detector with it. Now, if you saw those stones up ahead, the asteroids, a lot of them seem to have ore on the surface, and if you happen to know what the different ore types are well enough to identify them visually, that's all well and good. But if you don't, then you need an ore detector, and you might have to hop out of the cockpit, fly outside of the ship, and go over to it with your hand drill to identify what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and build the grinder and the welder and see if I still have enough material for this hand drill. And if I don't, I'll build a lower tier hand drill, which I do. So yeah, so we recycled our spawning tools, we recycled some ammunition, and now we're recycling these ammo clips because we don't need them. And right off the bat, we already have tier 3 tools, which is great. We've got a couple of bottles, which is fine, that's all we need. And the ship is airtight at the moment, I believe, but it doesn't even have an air vent in here, I don't think. So, yeah, I don't see an air vent anywhere. So, it's an airtight ship, but it's not doing us any good, because there's no way for the air to get into this part of the ship. So, there's really no reason to have to worry about keeping the ship airtight. That said, there's a lot of parts that we can salvage here. There's all of these light armor blocks. These lights have construction components in it. This gravity generator, we don't even need that. Let me show you something about the gravity generator too. I probably should have done this first. You see our fuel time down there is 19 hours. Now, it's not really 19 hours because if we want to fly anywhere, we're going to use up a lot more power when we activate our thrusters. So just to show you, I just turned on the reverse thrusters because there's 4 of them. Now it's 17 minutes. So if we're actually driving the ship around doing stuff, we don't have a lot of fuel time. So if we go into our control panel, find the gravity generator, and shut it off, we just saved 90 kilowatt hours of energy that it's using up. So instead of 19 hours now, it says 7 days. Now again, it's going to drop if I turn the engines on. It's at 17 minutes now, just using the reverse thrusters. Okay? But 17 minutes is a lot better than 9 minutes, right? Of course it is. 17 minutes should be plenty of time once we get going to find some uranium, get it processing in the refinery, and proceed on from there. So now I'm going to go into my shortcut menu here, and I'm going to get rid of all of this junk because I don't even have those tools anymore. I'm not going to build any solar panels. I won't need any batteries for a long time, so on and so forth. And I think that's all the items I'm going to need to build right now. So now, I'm going to start tearing up stuff that I don't need anyway. And this is going to go so much faster thanks to having this tier 3 drill here. You notice I just tore off one of the thrusters, and that's fine. These thrusters, we need them, but we don't need them right there. Now, the way the ship is oriented right now is, I don't like it, because we had 2 thrusters facing backwards. So our thrusters that would stop the ship, so to speak, we only had 2 of them, whereas we have 4 of them accelerating us. And I don't like that. I like my ships to kind of be the other way around. I want more thrusters stopping me than going because I have a tendency to misjudge my distance, okay? So, first and foremost, I'm going to flip the ship around so that this end over here is the front. And that is so easy to do because all we have to do is come in here and grab this command chair, or flight seat. We can cut it up. We come right back here and stick it back on. And the orientation of the flight seat determines where the front of the ship is. So before it was oriented like that, so the other end down there was the front. So I'm going to flip it around like that, and now this end is the front. Which means, like I was saying, now we have 4 thrusters stopping us. Now I need to put those two engines back on that I took off earlier. And now we can go back to cutting up unnecessary parts of the ship. These little catwalks here, they have construction components and interior plates in them. Why are they here? I guess they're decorative. I don't know. It doesn't matter, but I'm glad to have them. This window has bulletproof glass, which we can recycle into silicone that we can use for building other things. And then all of these light armor blocks have metal plates in them that we're going to be able to use to build some drills with. So tons of parts here if we just repurpose them. And so important to get this grinder. It is ridiculously faster than the Tier 1. It would have taken me 10 minutes to do what I've done already with this grinder if I had had the Tier 1 still. Oh, lost some parts there. I'll come back and grab them in a minute. So, now that my backpack's full, I'm going to come around here and start actually building some stuff. Alright, so that's 5 conveyor tubes and 4 large drills. We should have enough parts to build all that, I think. Go grab these parts that were floating off on me. Yeah, keep a better eye on your inventory space than I do, and you won't have to worry about that. I've been playing on a dedicated server that has a larger inventory than this, so I forgot, but that's okay. Now right here under this is a small cargo container, which doesn't have anything in it. And there are 2 conveyor tubes here. Now we need to build 5 conveyor tubes. There's 2 conveyor tubes here go into this small cargo container. And I want to keep the small cargo container, but it doesn't need to stay there. So if I go ahead and grind it out, then I can take those 2 conveyor tubes and I can put the cargo container right up here. So it's still connected to the conveyor network. Then I have enough parts to complete 2 of these conveyor tubes here. Now it looks like when I cut that catwalk off right there, this engine is going to let go. So I might as well go ahead and use up the parts I've got right now and then take that engine off and rebuild it over here. Don't want to have engines floating off into space. Now, I've already tried to put all of these items into the stuff that I'm building, and they won't go in, which means these parts I either have all of my need or whatever. Either way, I can't use them. So I'm going to toss them into the assembler and recycle them to get the ingots out of them that hopefully I can use to build the other parts that I'm actually missing. Alright, now I need to move this medical bay because it's kind of hanging out here all on its own. It doesn't need to be that far back anyway. I laid down the new one. Now I'm going to start grinding up the old one. Be careful grinding it up too, because you definitely can't hold all of its parts. Those medical components, and it has 15 of them, are really big. Alright, I'm going to move this gyroscope too because it's not in a good place. Alright, now the only reason I did that was to connect these motors over here sort of a different way around. Because, do you see these holes right here on the side of the refinery? And also there's some up here on the assembler. Those are upgrade holes. You can put an upgrade module on there called a productivity module, or an effectiveness module, or a power efficiency module. And what I want to put on there is productivity modules. And what they'll do is they will make, if you could put 4 of them on the refinery or the assembler, it makes them, I think, 500% efficient. So by the time you build 4 productivity modules on there, which is, especially for the refinery, way cheaper than building 5 refineries, you effectively have 5 refineries for how fast it will refine your material. So you definitely want to be able to get to those little ports. which is why I connected those engines from over around the other side. Alright, so it looks like I need about 40 large tubes. That drill's done. This one needs 5 motors and 40 construction components. This one needs 5 motors, so we're up to 10 motors and 10 more construction components. So 10 motors, 50 construction components, and 14 small tubes. I don't remember exactly how many needed, so I'm going to build too many parts. That's fine. Keep an eye on your oxygen bottle too. Mine's down to 57%. It's fine, but I'm sitting here waiting on this thing anyway. I'm going to go over to the oxygen generator and fill it up real quick. Seven small tubes. 1 motor and 8 construction components. Whoops, still short 1 motor. Alright, now, those drills are in business. Go into our menu here. Search for drills. Create a group. Go into shortcut menu. Go to groups. Toggle on and off. Go into weapons. Double click that. And there you go. Inside of, what, 10 minutes or so, we have just created a large drill ship. It'd go a lot faster if you weren't trying to explain to somebody how to do it while you're doing it. So we've got a large drill ship, and that's awesome, but we're not going to be able to see where we're going. So let's put a couple lights on here. If you don't know, the stuff that's red right here, it means you don't have enough parts to build them. So I really want an ore detector, but we don't have any nickel to build them with. So we can't build one right now. We're going to have to wait until we find some nickel. Which, I would go for nickel first, but I'm going to see if I can find uranium first, because we need uranium for fuel, obviously. But if I happen to run across some nickel, I'll grab a little bit up, and then we'll be able to build an ore detector, and it might help us find that uranium. I'm not sure if I'm going to have parts for all that, but I'm going to try and build 7 lights. We'll see. Alright, so if I got all the parts for it, or whether I get it in a few minutes, after we start mining, I'll have 7 lights pointed in every which way. 2 forward, then 1 in every other direction. And it looks like we didn't run out of parts. So now, I'm going to try and build a productivity module, which it says we have enough parts. And that's it. We only have enough for 1. But that's fine. We'll take the 1 that we get and we'll put it on our refinery. And then I also want to take and put a couple of interior lights, which I believe they take 1 construction component each. Put 4 of them out there on the drills. Alright, now before I build that, we'll go in here to the control panel and we'll look at the refinery. And you see right here it says 100% productivity, 100% effectiveness, and 100% power. So if you put a productivity module on, your productivity number goes up. If you put effectiveness modules on, your effectiveness goes up, so on and so forth. Now, if you were stuck in a situation where you could only mine with a hand drill, you'd probably want the effectiveness modules because you would get more ingots for the ore that you bring in. but since we're going to be able to bring in tons of ore in a very short amount of time with those large drill bits out there, we want it to process faster. So we're going to put productivity modules on it. And for the power efficiency, if you were trying to run a base off of like only solar panels or something, then I guess you might want the power efficiency ones, but I'd just go find more uranium. Alright, so 100% productivity right now. And then I finished that one productivity module, and now we're at 200% productivity. So all the ore you bring in will process twice as fast. If you put one more productivity module on there, you get 300%. If you put two more on there, you're at 400%. So if you put one on, you double your productivity. If you put two more on, you double it again. And if you put a fourth one on, then you're up to 500% effectiveness, or 500% productivity. So everything you put in processes 5 times faster. You can't beat that. Alright, so that is it right there. That is the rebuild on this asteroid starter or spawn ship right here. And as you can see, we have all the same parts here except for the gravity generator, which we don't need. And we have our hand drill that we might have to use as an ore detector temporarily. But this ship is ready to go. You've even already exposed your refinery and your assembler over here, which I can dig out these 2 blocks right here, but I'll do that later. You can already put 2 productivity modules on the assembler the way it's oriented. If you want to do more than that, you're gonna have to take it out and build it on somewhere else, which is totally doable, but right now you don't have the parts for the productivity modules anyway. So that's it for the build. You can stop watching right now, or if you want to keep watching, I'm going to go over to the asteroid and just kind of show you exactly how effective this is. If you know how drills are, that's fine. If you're newer to the game, you might actually want to see this. Oh, I forgot to adjust my lights. You don't want to turn the intensity up because the intensity kind of whites everything out. It makes it hard to tell the difference between colors. So I would leave the intensity down. But if you turn up the radius, then they shine farther away. Radius sounds like it's going to make a bigger sphere of light, but it doesn't. It makes it farther away. So they should call that like range or something. I don't know. If you increase the fall off, that makes it a wider sphere. So I turn both of those up and I leave the intensity kind of low. I do believe that is nickel, right? Well, it might be iron. It's hard to tell. Either way, it's something we probably need. Yeah, I think that's just iron. That might be nickel right there, actually. Right where that crosshair is. It's really hard to tell. They make them so close to the same color. Could fly out there with my hand drill, but I'm just going to drill into it and see what I get. I'm pretty sure this is a little bitty spot of nickel right here with a bunch of iron underneath it. So yeah, I just go into the refinery and I can see, yeah, right there's some nickel, and I picked up some iron and some stone. And generally you don't want a lot of stone, but you do have to have some stone to build reactor components if you want to build any more reactors. So right there in those few seconds, I collected at least 2 backpack loads of ore. And now you understand why that long stem of conveyors is on there, because there's no way you can build enough drills this early on to make a massive array of drill bits, but by having a long stem you can kind of plunge it down into the asteroid a ways. Side views help too. That way you can not ram the asteroid. Looks like I'm still collecting nickel. Alright, so let's see what we got in 30 seconds of mining. In our small cargo hold, which means our refinery is completely full already, we have 20,000 nickel and 40,000 stone. In our refinery, we have 187,000 nickel and 10,000 iron and 6,000 stone. So in what, 30 seconds or so of mining, we collected over 200,000 ore. That's amazing. The next thing we're going to have to build for ourselves is going to be a large cargo hold so that we can hold all of this while it's being refined. But for right now, let's take a look over here, and we're out of iron ingots. So we can take this iron, move it over to the cargo hold, and then drop it right in the front of the line. You're supposed to be able to drag and drop them like that, but most of the time it doesn't work. So we just dropped our iron in the front of the load. And now we have enough iron in our parts building again for our ore detector. And we should have enough nickel now to do the detector components, which we didn't have before. Alright, so we got all the parts for that. Now I'm going to set the thing to building, let's see, 5 more productivity modules. And I don't know if it'll have all the parts right now, but it'll get there. I mean, it just needs iron and nickel, which is exactly what we just mined. Oh, looky there. 180 meters away, we can now see uranium, which is going to be our next stop. We also have silver over there, and platinum looks like on the back side of this asteroid. And you need platinum to build thrusters and the elite hand tools, like the elite welder and elite grinder. I'm going to grab up a bunch of this iron while I'm here, probably fill up my cargo hold. Getting a little bit more nickel there too, which is fine. I've got plenty of nickel, but it don't hurt anything. Getting past the iron there and into the stone. Keep in mind too, when your cargo space gets full, the drills can hold quite a bit too. See, the drills can hold 250,000 space each, almost. And this is in survival mode with 10, 10, 10. So if you're playing super hardcore with 1x, they're not going to hold that much, obviously. Looks like that platinum's down in the rock a little ways. know. It's just around the side a little more. I'm going to get a lot of this right now, but I'm going to grab a little bit just so I can build the advanced tools. Not sure if that uranium is in the rock or on the other side, but we're going to fly around and see. Yep, there it is. As you can see, we're down to 7 minutes of fuel time, and I'm not terribly worried about that. Absolute worst case scenario, before you run completely out of power, because you've got to have a little bit to run the refinery, you could shut off the reactor, go out with your little hand drill, and find a little bit of uranium to get you going again. But I've never really had that happen. Uranium, I think, is more common than platinum even. That little bit right there is probably going to be, I don't know, several days supply of uranium for this ship. Yeah, 40k uranium, and it looks like we picked up a little bit of silver too. I actually want a little bit of silver because it's another one of those rare metals that you need a little bit of, but you can't build some things without it. Got a little bit too much speed up there. And if you wonder what I'm doing here, I'm creating GPS coordinates so that I can find these spots again. So when I look on my HUD here, I can see over there on the left, you see it says platinum. Now I know to come in at the rock at that angle to get that platinum. And I'll have one here named silver, and I'll know to come in at that angle to get to the silver easily. And I haven't seen any cobalt or magnesium yet. I might have to go to another asteroid to find them. I don't know. But cobalt, you need a little bit of to make things like metal grids. Magnesium, I don't even know what you need it for. You don't need it for very much anyway. It's one of the last things I generally look for. But you do need silicone to make computers. As you can see, I'm not getting tons of this stuff right now. I'm just getting a little bit to get us started off with it, so we can build a bit more of a resource-producing monster here, so to speak. Looks like all of our parts are done for our productivity modules, so let's go ahead and put them on. I'm going to start parts building for a large cargo container. And I'm not sure if I'll need it, but I'm going to get a couple conveyor tubes too. Yeah, I'm gonna need a conveyor tube at least. Alright, so checking on a refinery again, with the 4 productivity modules on it, it is now up to 500% efficiency. Or not efficiency, 500% productivity. So, it's going pretty quick now. I would like to get something else in the front of the list besides nickel, but all my space is full until I can get that large cargo container built. Which it looks like all the parts just got done for. Alright, now, on a large ship, it can be really annoying to try and get rid of stone, because small ships have ejectors that you can put on, but large ships don't have ejectors. They have connectors which do the same thing, but those huge connectors, compared to the ejectors, don't do it any faster. So on a small ship, you can put 50 or 100 ejectors in a pretty small space, like the size of one side of this cargo container. But on a large ship, you could only fit maybe 9 connectors in the same space, and those 9 wouldn't eject any faster than they do on the small ship. So it would take forever to get rid of a ton of stone. And if you see here, we do have a lot of stone that we just don't need. I'm going to come over here, and it looks like our drills had some stuff in it, and it dumped it into this large cargo container as soon as it was done. So I'm going to put all the stone over here. And I'm going to move this iron and silicone back out. Because we're going to get more stone. I don't need to save any of the stone that we have right now. And it's automatically, I'm trying to store it in the drills temporarily, but it's dumping it right back into large cargo. So I'm going to come into the drills and turn off use conveyor so I can actually use them for temporary storage. And now I've got 79 or 77k of stone in this new large cargo container I built. So to do this little trick, I'm going to cut it loose from the ship, and then I'm going to just cut up this cargo container. And I almost messed up there because my storage is full and I don't want to lose any of these parts. Oh, how annoying. I'm just going to let them fall into space and I'll pick them up by hand. So there you go. There's our giant piece of stone. We basically just kicked it out of the ship, all in one giant piece. Now I can rebuild the cargo container. Turn the conveyors back on. Got my large cargo pulled up right here. Bring up my small cargo right here. And move everything from the small cargo into the new large cargo. And now I can cut off the small cargo because I don't need it anymore. And now what I want to do is pull out this assembler because I can't get 4 productivity modules on it the way it's laying there. So not entirely sure if it is or is not the item that's connecting the 2 sides of the ship. So just to be safe, I built those blocks across there. Just had another thought. It may have some ore or some ingots in it, and I don't want them to go flying. Yeah, it does. It's got a little bitty smattering of ingots in it. So I'm going to move those over into the cargo hold for now. Alright, well, I forgot that my medical bay was connected to it. Whoops. So I'm going to have to reconnect that here in a minute. Yeah, I just made a mess. Oh boy, did I make a mess. But that's okay. I mean, you just gotta, you know, roll with the punches. So I'm gonna put the assembler back first. Here I was worried about the assembler connecting the front and or left and right side of the ship, and I forgot about the front and back. Seems I disconnected my refinery somehow too. What a mess. Alright, well, I guess I could just stop the video right now, but I'm going to show you how to work the problem, I guess. I really want that to go in there, and I'm not sure why it won't. I think the old one's in the way a little. Alright, so I'm disassembling all the parts that I have left over right now because I need to build a conveyor block, and that will connect my refinery back up to my assembler at least. Or specifically, I need 30 construction components and 20 small tubes. Which it looks like I have enough. I don't have enough material for. Oh, what a pain. So I push the iron up to the front of the list in the refinery. Put a little bit of uranium behind it because I don't want to run out of fuel. Alright, now my problem is the refinery has made me a bunch of iron ingots, but it can't get them up to the assembler. Because I broke the connection when I took out the assembler. So I'll carry it up there by hand. I was down to 0.3 uranium in the reactor, now I've got 2.8, so way more fuel than I had. And there's me the parts to finish that conveyor, and now the assembler should be connected to the refinery. I can test that by trying to drag some parts over. Yes, okay. So I got that reconnected finally. Wow. I'm going to build my 2 more productivity modules for the assembler. And I'm also going to need to build a couple of merge blocks in order to get my large cargo container back that is trying to... Well, it is detached from the ship. When I moved the med bay, well, when I cut off the assembler, it cut the med bay loose. When the med bay got cut loose, it cut off that large cargo container. And that large cargo container has all my ore in it that I just assembled. So rather than trying to move it all over by hand, because it would take me, I don't know, 30 or 40 trips, I have no idea, to move it all over by hand, I'm just going to use a merge block to reattach it. Oh, and I need another tube too, because I recycled the parts from that. Alright, so now with 4 productivity modules on the assembler, it is 500% productivity. So it's now producing as fast as it was, or 5 times faster than it was to start with. So now, merge blocks are pretty simple. All you have to do is get the stupid things to line up. And since this thing is sitting right here, it might just line up all on its own. Or it might prevent me from building the thing anyway. Yeah, I can't build it on the other side because it's colliding. If you don't know, merge blocks, they've got these little, see the little fingers? There's 4 little fingers sticking out on it. Those are like, they lock into place or whatever, so you kind of need them to line up with each other. They have a little bit of magnetism to them, so if you can get them kind of close, they'll just pull themselves together. And are they moving? No, they're not close enough, but they are really close. So I think I can hop into the cockpit here, or the flight seat, and just tap it back a little bit and make it connect up. And there it went. I barely twitched it, and it already pulled itself together almost. See where it turned green there? They're connected. Now that that has the blocks lined up again, I can come right back in here and rebuild these conveyor tubes. Out of steel plates. I forgot I would need 2 conveyor tubes because the med bay was making up for one of the conveyor tubes before. And don't forget to refill your oxygen. Now we can cut off this these merge blocks. We don't need them anymore. And there we go. Alright, so we're back in business. Go ahead and take all these extra parts I ended up with and recycle them. And I got some platinum now, so I want to rebuild those advanced tools. I can recycle these. Have I processed any platinum yet? I guess not. Alright, so there's me an elite welder and an elite grinder, and I don't need a hand drill anymore because I have the large ore detector. Alright, so minor disaster averted. We now have our ship here with a large cargo container, which means we can go mining quite a bit of ore. We've got our 4 drills out there, we've got our ore detector, we've got an assembler which is now 500% effective or productive. We have a refinery which is 500% productive. We are in really, really good shape now to start out whatever it is we want to do. And I'll leave it to you from this point on. Wherever you want to go with the game from here, that's fine. Whether you want to start up a base or just keep building this into a mothership, or maybe completely rebuild a new drilling ship and have a base separate from whatever you want to do, you're really well set up for it. You've got your basic ore. I never found any magnesium or cobalt, but I mean they're around. All you gotta do is fly by these asteroids. You're gonna find it real quick with that ore detector. But I don't think you can beat this for a start. I mean, we took the basic ship, we turned it into a mining ship, and we have mined more resources now than you could do with a couple hours with the hand drill. And with the very basic amount of mining. We've got tons of fuel time. Well, it's an hour of fuel time, it says, but it's still a lot of fuel time. We've got uranium right over there. We can go grab all of it we want. You just can't beat this. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something from it, even if you don't do anything exactly like this. Um, so yeah, I guess thanks for watching and enjoy.